Hello, I am here in CoasterCon 2024. Thank you for having me. Hi everyone, I'm Noah, or AquaGump, as you may know me. I'm here from Project New Tomorrow Cubed. Yes, this is our wonderful presentation here. We are proud to sponsor CoasterCon 2024 this year, and yeah. So, I'm here to talk about our latest project here, EPCOT Center 1989, which opened yesterday. This is a project that has been 6 years in the making. So since 2018, we've been actively working on EPCOT Center 1989 in some way, shape, or form. We're very excited to show that off to you guys now. And yeah, I'd really like to go more in depth about this project, answer any questions at the end, and we got an hour to fill, so let's go ahead and do it. We're going to go ahead and start with meeting me. Goodness gracious. I don't know what they did to my legs. So yes, I am the project lead of EPCOT Center 1989. I've got, unfortunately, over a decade of experience in this community. It has been a very long ride, and I have been here for a very long time. And, you know, it has been my pleasure to have been there for that long and to experience so much, because I think it really did contribute to the success of this project and how long we've been working on it. Yeah, my job is to prepare planning, development, and execution of the project. I've collaborated with Josh for probably about, I want to say, over 6 years now, because I originally joined what was then HorizonParks back in 2017, just as a mere simple lowly builder, and that was a very long experience, or a very short-lived experience, but then evolved into a very long experience there. Yeah, so my specialties include one-to-one scale building, landscaping, and shrubbery. That is, I guess it's one word for what I do. Exterior design and 3D model production. In his free time, yes, I do like to swim, and my EPCOT Center favorite pavilion is indeed the land pavilion. So in case you need to know any of those interesting facts about me, there you go. There it is. Alright, so we're going to go on and talk a little bit more about the beginning of this project, where it all started, and where we're heading here. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. But then after that, Josh and Kyle had an idea in December of 2016. At this point, there were all different types of major theme parks which were being developed in the community, except for one category. They noticed that there was definitely significant lack of retro theme park dedicated servers. And while that may sound like, oh, it's just a very niche thing to do, it's very important to realize how big the community is for vintage Disney experiences and products here, not just in Minecraft, but in the community at large. So with an interest in history as well as past attractions and experiences, they created the first vintage theme park server under the name HorizonParks. They knew going into this genre, it would drastically limit their demographic of interested players, as this is a, like I just said, an overlap that doesn't exactly appear all too often, but, where there is definitely interest from our community between those two groups. So that's what they saw, that's what they did, that's how they were going. The very first iteration of HorizonParks would act as an experimental run to help determine if the concept would be viable. So we had products like Horizons and Journey into Imagination, but honestly, they were all very elementary. They were all very crude, I would say, in my experience in seeing those early versions. So, yeah, it was, to be honest, not great. Moving on, though, we do have HorizonParks 1.0. So the first iteration of the EPCOT Center 1989 map opened to guests April 29th, 2017. I really wish I had more photos of this HorizonParks, because this was the first iteration that I ever worked on. I actually built, I want to say, one snack cart in that entire park. I didn't have any other contributions to that in any other form. Just a snack cart. It was not. It was great. So although the quality of the project was certainly a product of its time, I think is the light way of putting it. It revealed that other people were actually interested in this concept, and that there was a future for HorizonParks, that there was more to go off of here, and that we could actually do something truly great with this. So this map was built when major references to the park were nowhere near as mainstream as they are now. I would say the single largest contribution to this project has been the explosion, honestly, of references available now on social media, as well as just new references being published pretty much daily. It was very interesting being there during that time, but seeing at what we were able to complete in that time, so back in 2018 or 2017, before all of that reference became available, it was definitely very impressive that we were even able to get to that level of detail available on HorizonParks 1.0. So HorizonParks built a small and dedicated following that would continue to follow the project as it moved and grew. The original version of HorizonParks closed on August 26, 2017, and the project went on hiatus. And in those photos up there, I'm sure you can see, we actually do have our wonderful little sea lion, Charles. May he rest in peace. And we also have our EPCOT, old EPCOT Spaceship Earth. It's something. It's something, you know. You can only do so much world edit / H sphere and expect it to look so good. But for its time, it was pretty alright. It was pretty good. So the HorizonParks server would eventually evolve into the HP network in May of 2018. So this is actually when I first joined into HorizonParks. I wish I had more photos from this time, but last year all of my screenshots from, I want to say about 8 years worth of work were all wiped clean. That was a sad time, but we do still have a number of screenshots from that era, which is still good. HorizonParks returned in the form of the HorizonParks Network, an expansive offering providing guests with a variety of vintage parks, as well as the most groundbreaking creative server at that time. EPCOT Center 1989 had been entirely rebuilt from the ground up using newer and more accurate building techniques. References for the park began to become more mainstream. So this was actually after the first merger with MC Amusement, the now defunct MC Amusement server, and they actually helped quite a bit with this iteration of HorizonParks. So when I originally joined, EPCOT Center 89 was just Future World East. We had Wonders of Life built, Universe of Energy, Horizons, World of Motion, and I think somebody had just recently finished Journey into Imagination, and that was it. It's very cool, I think, is a very light word of putting it, but I can't think of one another more impactful word at this time. It's very cool realizing just how far the project has come since I first joined it, and how there is not very much that stands from this original iteration 6 years ago to the park that we opened yesterday. Was that? I don't know what that was, that sound, but it's okay. So the Future World East area was the first area to open on the HorizonParks network. We had entirely rebuilt from the ground up using newer and more accurate building techniques. References for the park began to become more mainstream, which is a very important thing when it comes to how HorizonParks became what it is today, and how EPCOT Center 1989 became what it is today. So while the HP network would sunset on December 8th of 2018, something new was on the horizon, and this would be the final time guests would be able to explore the map before PNT Cubed, before we opened, as of yesterday. Um, I feel like the horn is like a way to like get me off the stage or something here. So, yeah, the Horizon Parks Network was a very interesting time in the service history because we did have a number of major openings in that time. We opened Horizons, we opened the Living Seas Pavilion at the time. I believe it was that. Yes, we did open the Living Seas before we closed, I think. And that was probably one of the most stressful openings that we've ever had. I remember when we were opening the Living Seas, actually, that we were building the coral reef, like the rock work. At the same time, there were people going through the Sea Cabs ride that goes through the Living Seas Pavilion. I still have stress streams from that experience, I think. If there's one thing that you all can take away from this panel, it's that you should not do that at all. Do not do that to yourself, please. And moving on here, so once we got past the HP network era, we entered probably the longest era of the Horizon Parks or the Horizon Park server, which was the MCA MC Amusement era. So in late 2018, Horizon Parks joined forces with the team behind MC Amusement, a notable entity within the community at the time, known for their emphasis on quality experiences. So we met with Speed Train right after we closed, I want to say in December, at the time when MC Amusement was still with their current, or their former entity. And we decided that that would be the best partnership going forward. We decided that partnering with MC Amusement would allow us the creative freedom that we needed and the growth and the platform that we needed to continue going on. And I firmly believe that that was the right decision at the time, and that MC Amusement was the way to go for us. And I think it benefited us, especially with EPCOT, a lot. So the Horizon Parks team began a full-scale overhaul of the park. We had new and exciting resources that began to become public. At this time, I started collecting a ton of blueprints and everything. Everything that I could get my hands on, from photos to videos to blueprints. We started collecting those, stockpiling them, using them in our builds. We have probably, I want to say, dozens, maybe even hundreds of blueprints directly from Walt Disney Imagineering that we use now in our recreations, which is insane that we have them because these are incredibly hard to come by. But also, it's great that we are able to use those in our builds and be able to bring a new level of accuracy towards our builds. So the Horizon Parks team began a full-scale overhaul of the park, like I said, and while there were many highs and lows during this time, the team learned many lessons and gained valuable experience, which reflected on the project's outlook. So I do want to say, in this time, we rebuilt every pavilion in the park, except for two. That being Journey into Imagination and, let's see, what was the other one? World of Motion is like a half rebuild. So we completely tore down some pavilions, completely rebuilt them, because as we got these new references and we got these new resources, we realized that what we wanted to do and the product that we wanted to deliver would not be possible unless we did it the way that we wanted to. We had to tear it down. We had to restart because otherwise it wouldn't have been the best product that we could have delivered upon. Horizon Parks would permanently suspend operations in March of 2021 due to a change in leadership. However, progress on the map did continue into 2022 and beyond. PNT Cube. Yes. So now we are on our permanent home here on the Project New Tomorrow Cubed server. PNT Cubed is the Minecraft entity that hosts all of Project New Tomorrow's Minecraft projects. So Project New Tomorrow is actually the, I want to say, parent organization it's the main event for us. We're interested in virtual recreations, anything related to historical preservation in Disney, Universal, anything that we can do to virtually preserve these parks. That's our goal. Minecraft is just one of the ways that we were able to do this, which is why EPCOT Center was just the perfect fit to bring Project New Tomorrow onto. So, like I said, on April 16th, 2022, Project New Tomorrow acquired the project from MC Amusement, returning it back to its original creators and home, with an emphasis on a living and breathing project over a traditional theme park server. The PNT Cubed team, many of which who were from HorizonParks. I think we have probably about half a dozen original team members from that park still working on Project New Tomorrow, including myself. We continued to work on the park, turning it into an educational, entertaining, and inspiring tribute. The result is the most detailed and accurate recreation of the park to date on Minecraft, utilizing quality audio, source audio, may I add, in most cases, visuals, and development tools to bring it all to life. This also resulted in an increased emphasis on guest interactivity and immersion. We spent a lot of time making sure that every detail of the park was left taken care of. Nothing was overlooked. Nothing was overlooked. I think that's the most important thing to realize as you go and you walk around the park, is that the detail and time that was spent on this is something that is not really comparable to a Minecraft server, only because the research that's been done on it is more in line with a 6-year-long research project. So, of course, when I put this on my resume, it's not going to be a Minecraft server. This is a 6-year research project that I've been working on. So, yeah. With an emphasis, I already said that. Hold on. Goodness gracious. Oh, there we go. All right. Yeah. So, models is another big aspect of which we built upon with PNT Cubed, and we really wanted to make sure that we got all of that, all those details that we weren't able to capture with blocks. We wanted to make sure that we were able to have it with models. So that's why if you go walk around, if you go to the gift shops, there's actual moving props, there's models, if you go into just walking around to all the pavilions, all the signs are there. Everything is designed by our team of graphic artists, which we then put into game, which we then put into the park for you all. So moving on to the present. EPCOT Center 1989 opened to all guests on August 31st, 2024. Guests start their journey by hopping aboard one of the park's courtesy trams as it takes them to the main entrance. They then have the opportunity to walk through the beautiful landscapes and around the majestic pavilions of Future World. From the bold fountainations to the classic jumping fountains of Journey to Imagination, guests are immersed in the nostalgic trip back in time to the prime of EPCOT Center. We spent probably the shortest amount of time, even though it is probably one of the most breathtaking details of EPCOT Center, on the, strangely enough, fountaination. So as you walk in and you see the fountainations, we've actually modeled the streams of jets that go up from the fountainations, which I think is just such an incredibly cool and immersive effect that we didn't really think would work the first time that we did it. And then, lo and behold, we put it in, we looked at it, we moved it around a little bit, and we said, that's not too bad. That's pretty good. Same for the jumping fountains. Those were a detail that we had done. I'm going to just mute my Minecraft falling. I lost my train of thought there for a second. Anyway. Yeah. So, I think the important thing that you should realize when you walk around EPCOT Center now is that Every tree was built by hand. Every parking spot in the parking lot was individually outlined. Everything is deliberate. Everything is on purpose. There is so much detail packed into such a small space, and I'm incredibly happy with the way that it turned out, given that we still have much more to show for EPCOT Center. Yeah. And then every single trash can and bench is exactly placed to how it would be in 1989, which, I will be entirely honest, I am so sorry for doing that to everyone who works on Project New Tomorrow, because it's just an insane amount of work for something that goes unnoticed most of the time. But it's something that's so crucial if we are to have this, if we are able to call ourselves the most accurate recreation of EPCOT today. And going into the future, while we are letting the beauty and quality of the park speak for itself, we know that EPCOT Center was defined by a vital element, and that, of course, being the rides. Our team has been hard at work behind the scenes in order to bring the classic pavilions at EPCOT Center back to life again. These attractions are being crafted under the strict quality standards expected from PNT Cubed, and we will be utilizing the newest innovations in visual and audio storytelling. That being said, we are pleased to announce that Backstage Magic will be premiering within the next 1 to 3 weeks, and the World of Motion Pavilion will be the first pavilion to debut at EPCOT Center starting in October. We're really excited to bring World of Motion to life in Epcot Center, and we're even more excited to bring Backstage Magic to you all, because as much as it is a quite simple attraction, it's something that has never been recreated before in any form. And that's what we're excited to show you all. So, moving on to the current progress of the park. The entirety of the front half of the park has reached exterior completion, so that includes the entire parking lot, all of Future World, and all the way up to the bridge from Mexico on the eastern side of the park, and the walkway to Canada on the western side of the park. So the interior of Communicore East has been completed with exhibits like Epcot Computer Central, the Exxon Energy Exchange, Centurium, and Future Choice Theater. Those are all done and ready for you all to explore on the PNT Cubed server. The progress on the majority of the pavilion interiors is at around 50% completion as rides await development. We do have attractions such as Universe of Energy that are actually about 90% done, just waiting on tech, just waiting on models. However, if you know anything about Universe of Energy, you know that it's extremely long and extremely screen intensive. So that's been our battle with a lot of the Epcot attractions, is how many screens were used in the rides and how we're going to be able to accurately implement those into the park. Because, as you know, it's Minecraft. We can't all have fancy tech like we all have on CoasterCon here. So we will be looking to add a few more attractions, a few more shows, a few more experiences in the coming weeks, and those will be noted on our Discord. They're not going to be major openings, but they will be things that you can interact with, things that add to the guest experience here on the server and in our park. And yeah. We're going to be listening to the land. So, as stated earlier, every single aspect of the landscaping and forestry around the park was individually built by hand, mostly by me. It took a while. You all wonder why 6 years. This is why. We built every tree by hand. Was it worth it? I think the results speak for themselves. So, every tree, every bush, every shrub, all the terrain, flower, anything that you see walking around the park that's green was built by hand. As much as I want to say that there's no tree that's the same as another, it's not entirely true. We did have to copy and paste some of them. That being said, though, there were no templates being used from this. Everyone was built by hand by me or by another Project New Tomorrow team member. And I think that you really notice that as you're walking around the park. I think that that is a detail that hasn't been seen pretty much anywhere else. When we first moved on to MC Amusement, that was one of the biggest things that we received compliments for, was the forests, was the trees, was the landscaping. And I'm glad that we were able to continue that on to Project New Tomorrow, because I think that we took what we were doing on there, took it up to the umpteenth level, and that was what we really needed to make this project pop. So thorough research was conducted by the PNT Cube team into the landscaping techniques and types of trees utilized within the park in order to create a genuine and visually beautiful park experience. That's something that I really want to note, is the fact that every tree that you see in the park is exactly as it was in 1989, which is quite interesting when you consider how often these trees were changed. For some reason, Disney World does not like keeping plants in the same location for very long at all. You'd be watching a video in, let's say January of 1989. It's entirely different than it is in February of 1989. I don't know why that is. Just to make my job harder, 30 years down the line, I think is what it was. So, thank you, Disney. I just want to say thank you. Anyway, the next time you're wandering through the park, just take a couple minutes, look around, explore the beauty of the natural landscaping. It's something that we really put effort in, and we really wanted you to notice and give you time to appreciate before we opened any rides, because I think that theme parks should really focus more on the park aspect and not as much on the main attractions. Yeah. Right. This is another interesting part of EPCOT Center's opening, was the amount of models that we had to create. Before I even go into anything that's on this slide, I do want to say we've probably added, leading up to the opening, about 20 models a day for 2 weeks onto the server. I'm sure those of you who helped out with that can back me up when I say that, because the amount of models that we've had to put in is kind of impressive. So the PNT Cube server utilizes Blockbench, a free program that allows us to create and develop Minecraft 3D models. Produced in a more realistic style, park models are low poly and find a balance between detail and client performance. We then color pick the colors from image references and apply them to the models to ensure accuracy. So what you see up there is actually the EPCOT tram, which was used around the park in progress. So that has no texture on it right now. However, as you see it in the park right now, it does. So this was probably taken around 2 weeks ago. The train was not supposed to be a addition that we were going to have on EPCOT. We didn't want to promise anything, but we are incredibly glad that we were able to get that model in. I do want to thank TJ for getting that in and doing the work on that. That was, I think that product came out incredibly well. I think that everybody was happy to see the trams in, and I think it really adds to the experience of entering EPCOT through the parking trams. It's something that, it's little details like that that really help in immersing you into the park and giving you the experience that you're walking in on your family vacation in 1989, you're coming in, and that you are getting ready to explore this for the first time. It's not a feeling that you get very often where you're able to walk into a theme park for the first time. I think everybody in the audience, everybody watching, knows what that feels like. Whether it's your hometown park, whether it's a Disney park, whether it's Universal, that's something that we really wanted to make sure we were able to wow our guests with as they walked into EPCOT. And I think that tram really adds to that experience there. I do want to say models help us to enhance the visual guest experience in the park, just like I said there. And the tram is definitely an instrumental detail to doing. A couple of the other models that I do want to mention around the park to keep an eye out for are just some of my favorites personally, and maybe this is just bias, but the Figment, unidentified flying figment is its official name, inside of the Centaurium in Epcot. T. Creeker, who was in the audience, hi there, made the oil and gas banners for the energy exchange, which I think came out phenomenally. We also have Smart One, who is in Computer Central, just around the corner from there. Currently not moving. No life in his eyes right now, but we're going to change that here pretty soon. As well as some of the other models are the Spinning Figment, which you can actually go and see in our CoasterCon booth. So if you want to go check that out after the panel, you can go see Spinning Figment in his stationary form, or you can go on the PNT server and go check that out. And then the other models that I'd really like to focus on are the pavilion signs that are all around the park. So Communicore, Spaceship Earth, the Land, Seas, Journey to Imagination, Horizons, Wonders of Life, World of Motion, Energy, all those were actually hand designed by us, by Domomess. She is just an incredibly wonderful and amazing graphic artist. We're so happy to have her on to contribute to the product, or to the project. This park would not be what it is today without her. So I'd like to just give a quick moment of appreciation for Doma. Thank you. All right, let's move on here. Moving on with the show. So our shows, such as the upcoming Backstage Magic exhibit in Communicore East, use a synchronized show plugin to ensure the performances go off without a hitch. We actually used this show plugin to initiate the opening for EPCOT Center last night, which allowed us to have a completely automated opening. Last night, there was no human input run into it. Everything was run off of the server. Everything was run by a computer. We didn't have to do anything with it, which I think is something that would have helped during that Living Seas opening when we were still building the pavilion as people were riding through it. You know, if we had something that automatically controlled it for us. Yeah. There's another note, guys. If you can automate something, you should probably automate it. Those are your 2 lessons to take away from this panel. Just a thought. So, PNT Cubed utilizes open audio MC shows in order to time, program, and test and adjust our shows. Queues are calculated by milliseconds and run off the server to ensure our shows run picture perfect every single time. So, if you ever walk around the park and you notice that, Soyster has watched this show 64 times. I wonder why that is. It's because he spent 64 times watching the shows, testing and adjusting by the millisecond every single time. Which, I mean, there's got to be a better way of doing that. I've tried to tell him, but if he wants to just sit through 64 performances of Backstage Magic, that's okay. That's fine. You know, I'm not going to judge if that's how you choose to spend your time, and that's okay. This also allows us to play the show's pre-show in sync with the main show, as well as update signage displaying when the next show will begin. We also have, I think, other uses for this in the tram timers at the front of the park. So those are actually always running throughout the day, and there's a timer that tells you when the next tram will arrive, so that you know, oh, if I need to get back to my parking space, it's supposed to be air quotes, but you know, parking space. There you go. We use that show plugin there to be able to count that down for you, or it's something like that. It's used in that way. But yeah, syncing shows, pre-shows, main shows, whatever it is another huge part of what we can do to deliver on the experience so that we can keep things running 24/7 just as they were in real life. And just as a reminder, Backstage Magic is opening in 1 to 3 weeks, so keep an eye out for a official opening date on the Project New Tomorrow server. We'd really like to see you all there. So, I'd like to start wrapping up here by leaving a legacy. So it takes a team of people, it takes a village really, to accomplish the unthinkable. And EPCOT Center 1989 would not have been possible without the talent, passion, hard work, and dedication of over 25 people during the past 6 years. I'd like to take a minute to thank each and every one of those people by name, because it is... The village is located in EPCOT. Just referencing chat there. So I'd like to take a minute to thank those people who contributed to the project. Amids, I'm not going to thank myself. Bent Spoon, Block by Gaining, sorry. I've never found out how to pronounce that name. Coolby Fits, Crafted Actor, Doma Mess, Dreamfinder Guy, Gary Meowsers, H-Train the Gamer, It's Polar, Just Platinum, Kokomo, MC Trade, Mr. Tebow, NGM Gaming, Night Monkey, Reds Robbins, Soyster, Speed Train, Superpap, T Creaker, TCS Roses, T3S, The Tojos, or TJ, Twisted Mud, and Yogs. I was going to say, yeah. And then I'd also like to thank any of the external resources that we used in our project. Those aren't listed on our slides, but still, without them, EPCOT would not be able to open as it did. So that being said, I'd like to thank the people who didn't necessarily have a hand in opening or working on the project, but still contributed to us in ways that we would not have a park without them. So that being said, I'd like to thank Retro Walt Disney World, Martin's Vids, Futureport82, Jason of Deepwater Studios, Bunny Wars on Twitter, Mr. Epcot on Twitter, Dave, Chief Ensign, and Ed Hoot Barlow of the Mesa Verde Times, Howard Bowers, BioReconstruct on Twitter, Jim Scholl, Mike Lee of Omnilux / Widen Your World, Joshua L. Harris of Epcot Legacy, Tom K. Morris, Werner Weiss of Yesterland, and the Ed, otherwise known as Enfilm, on Flickr. From guest-facing aspects like builds, tech, and 3D models, to what you don't see, such as the development that goes behind all of this, the creative direction, project leadership, each of these individuals left their mark on this incredible achievement, and that's something that I am forever grateful for, because I would not be here today without those people, without the huge help those people have been over the past 6 years. And it's something that I feel like I don't say enough, I can't say enough, how thankful I am to be here. Yeah, not getting emotional, but keeping it together up here on the main stage. From Josh, Kyle, and the entire PNT Cubed team, I'd like to thank you all. Thank you for watching, and to learn more about EPCOT Center 1989, as well as for more information regarding PNT Cubed, visit our website at www.projectnewtomorrow.org. You can visit the park on PNT Cubed at mc.projectnewtomorrow.org by joining version 1.20.6. We hope you enjoy the remainder of CoasterCon 2024. Thank you for coming out. I really appreciate your questions, really appreciate your interest, and yeah, thank you very much, guys.